Hello and welcome to Smug and Play Builds. The other day I was talking to my friend Chris and he told me that he really misses playing the original Deus Ex and Max Payne on the Windows Millennium Edition PC he bought at Walmart in the year 2000. Now the turn of the millennium is an especially nostalgic era in PC gaming for myself and many others. Early entries in big franchises like StarCraft and Deus Ex set a high bar for ambition and enjoyment that sequels often failed to reach. Diablo III. So I've decided to surprise Chris with a PC that'll provide an authentic turn-of-the-millennium gaming experience, and I'm going to build it out of a combination of e-waste and cheap eBay parts so I can show you guys how to get big retro PC thrills on a minuscule budget. Let's turn the camera around and see the parts I've selected for this build. What a lovely selection of parts we have for you today, beginning with this one. Now the year 2000 was a big round number year, and there were some big round number achievements in consumer CPUs that year by both Intel and AMD, who introduced their first 1 GHz processors. This is the Pentium III 1000EB, a 1 GHz Pentium III processor for the socket 370 that has a 133 megahertz front side bus. Now, in order to take advantage of that, we are using this Intel D815EFV Micro ATX Socket 370 motherboard. Now, this i815 chipset introduced in the year 2000 is important because it's the first chipset that Intel has offered that allows us to run a 133 megahertz front side bus processor with a 133 megahertz SD RAM memory, and includes an AGP4X slot for high-speed graphics like we're going to need for gaming. Now, on the graphics side of things, we're going with something that's not exactly period correct. This is a GeForce FX 5500 AGP with a 128-bit memory interface, and this would have been released a lot later. You would have seen this in 2003, 2004, but it's a reasonable upgrade that you would find in a machine that was originally purchased in the year 2000. And it's going to give us retro-friendly drivers and a lot of performance for this era where we would otherwise be putting in a GeForce 2 GTS or something like that. I have a Voodoo 5 5500 that we could put in here. That's not exactly a budget choice. This is going to cost you a lot less. I got this brand new from the recyclers for $10 some time ago. All the capacitors were completely burst, even though it had never been used. I've since replaced them with brand new ones here. This is going to be a perfectly good choice for us. We're going to get great performance and great compatibility with games of the era. Now, on the sound side, I've chosen to go with pretty much the old standby SoundBlaster Live. This is an SBO100. This is not one of the OEM boards. This is a retail 5.1 board. And because EAX is a thing during this era, we can get great surround sound out of this, and it's a great all-around board, very compatible again. On the RAM side, nothing really interesting here. I decided that we would start out with just 128 megabytes of this PC 133 megahertz RAM from Kingston. It is rebadged as value RAM. There's nothing special about it. It is cast latency 3. If we end up needing more than 128 megs, which I sort of doubt, I have another stick of Micron that we can run in here to bring it to 256, but this will probably do us. Moving on to storage. Now it's tempting to say, well, we're building a turn of the millennium PC, let's throw in a turn of the millennium hard drive here. This is a Seagate U-Series 5 20 gigabyte hard drive. Very similar to what you would find in that period. This one, in fact, was manufactured in 2002. Almost all of these are going to fail within moments if they have not failed already. Any mechanical rotating hard drive from this period is on death's door, if not already quite dead. And so I would not recommend it unless you want to be reinstalling Windows Millennium Edition over and over again, or or flashing an image that you've made onto a countless succession of hard disks that are all going to suffer the same fate. So what we're going to do instead of this is to use an older SSD from Samsung. This is an 830 series SSD. Only 64 gigabyte capacity makes it not so useful for modern machines, but totally great for this period. 64 gigs is plenty for the year 2000, where we're able to store a ton of games on that. Now, of course, this has a serial ATA interface, and you're not going to find any serial ATA on this 815 board at all. We have only IDE ATA interfaces. So that's where these cheapo adapters come in. Now, you can buy these off of Amazon, you can buy them off of eBay. They are horrendously built. Maybe even in this video you can see that the soldering is amateurish, let's say. But they do work. So all we have to do is plug this into here, and now instead of having a SATA SSD, we have a parallel IDE SSD that we can use in this machine and get enormous performance, and just reusing something that I had lying on the shelf. As I said, not too useful for a modern machine, but in this machine, it's going to be great. Now, moving on to cooling, I had originally thought I would use this boxed, socket 370 standard cooler. It's maybe not perfect for a Pentium III. This was originally from a Celeron socket 370 processor, but I put it together, tested it out, and the fan has bad bearings and it sounds absolutely awful. It's like twice as loud as the graphics card and every other component in the computer combined, and I couldn't even hear the hard drive failing when I was testing that. So I decided that we don't want to assault Chris's ears with this thing. So I built something that will be a lot quieter and also complete overkill and unnecessarily effective. This is originally a socket A AMD box cooler for an Athlon XP 3200. As you can see, it has a copper insert there. Now, socket A, interestingly, has the same critical dimensions as socket 7 and socket 370. As long as you have enough width, you can pop a socket A cooler onto your socket 370 board. It had an AMD cooler on it, which in addition to being off-brand, had completely seized. And so I've replaced this with this Galid Silent 6 60mm fan on top. This thing is going to be very cool and very quiet. I don't think we're going to need to worry about our Pentium III getting too warm. And the other components, fairly standard stuff. This is a Sony NEC DVD drive like you would have seen from the era. It has a black bezel. Unfortunately, that's not going to match our color scheme here. But I wanted to have a DVD-ROM because some games have started to go DVD in this period, and it's sort of the appropriate thing to do. And this is one that I had lying around, and it should do the trick nicely. So now all we need to do is get everything in our case and see if this bad boy will run. Alright, starting with 3D Mark 2000. What are we thinking now? My 450 MHz Pentium III with an i440BX chipset and a Voodoo 3 3000 gets, I think, a cracking like 4750 or something. Points in the default benchmark. We will see what an FX chip from like 3 years later and a 1 GHz Pentium III with a smoking hot 133 MHz frontside bus can manage. Things are looking pretty good here in the helicopter demo. 6,148. Well, I have actually gotten higher numbers than that on this machine. Now I would like to see what we're going to do in 3D Mark 2001 SE, where some shaders come into play. Let's run this benchmark. Okay, now we're in 32-bit color in 2001 second edition. We have entered the future. Alright, we're going to be squirrely and go into this very poorly maintained road and fire a few rockets. There we go. Low details, so nothing here to get too excited about, but we are seeing a solid 63-ish, 57-ish frames per second. Nature. Yes, this one I think is the one that has quite a bit of shader usage and tends to completely destroy FX cards, even when NVIDIA is cheating as much as they can possibly cheat. But hey, 23 frames per second. We're not crashing. Here's the good thing. The little man's fishing. There we go. Butterflies. We're not crashing. We have not crashed at all this entire time. No blue screens. Now, Windows Millennium Edition, known for its blue screens, have not gotten one. So we may not be putting up incredible numbers, but we have solid frame rates and we're not crashing. And it looks good. The render quality is fairly decent. Of course, NVIDIA was cheating, so it's not really what it's supposed to look like at all. But we can't tell. You can't tell. Alright, we got the prancing pony. Getting close to the end, and 4,993. It would be nice if we had 5,000, but you know what? That's close enough. Where is our clock frequencies? Here we go. Yeah, so we got a 270 megahertz core clock and a 400 megahertz. I think that's 400 megahertz effective. I think it's 200 DDR memory clock. And we could take that up a bit. We have active cooling, at least on the GPU. Oh, that looks nice. Ooh, 303 megahertz and 470 megahertz. Great. Awesome. I'm kind of interested to see whether or not Max Payne works, especially now that we've overclocked it horribly. 1024x768, 32-bit color, hardware, TNL, GeForce FX. Oh, there are so many things we can play with. Whatever. Let's just see if it runs. Okay, it's working. This is good. Now I'm running a pointless overclock. It might not be pointless. Honestly, I think my performance issues lie elsewhere. But melting this graphics card will be fun too.
I came in from the cold and the dark. Outside the city was...
I love this comic book sequence, but I'm going to skip this for the sake of getting this to work. My Beretta stirred nervously under my coat.
Next stop, Roscoe Street Station.
My Beretta has a mind of its own. It's a sentient being. It acts of its own volition. Guns don't kill people. Guns do.
The station was drenched in gloom. Alex was a ghost, nowhere to be seen.
Drenched in gloom. Not blood. Never blood. Not blood. The station is never drenched in blood. That just doesn't happen. You don't see that. Yeah, see, that's gloom. That's gloom. The gloom all over the ground. Oh man, someone spilled a big bucket of gloom in here.
Death was in the air at Roscoe Street. I'd have to find out fast.
Death is in the air. Okay, just let me bullet time once so I can be like, Chris, I tried out bullet time. It works. Okay. Well, turns out I suck at bullet time. I think you're supposed to... Oh, that was much better bullet time. Okay, that was some exciting bullet time. Wow. I did not realize they took so many hit points. Okay, whatever. Oh, that was terrible. Do I not get a... I don't get a targeting thing? Oh, I'm all out. No, wait, I thought... Did I not have enough bullet time? I have bullet time? Oh, it's because I have a lead pipe. Okay, well, a lead pipe is not going to be really the most effective way of using bullet time. Oh, see, now I have a Desert Eagle. It works, Chris. I'm terrible at this game somehow. I'm just not doing the bullet time thing. Oh, and I jumped and there was no one there. Okay, he was on the other side. Okay, it works, Chris. I'll just say it works. So it's been about a week since I handed this build over to Chris, and he's really been enjoying it. And turn-of-the-millennium titles like Quake 3 Arena, Unreal Tournament, Deus Ex, this provides a really authentic and enjoyable experience. And this was put together mostly with e-waste, things that were found in the curb. With the exception of that, Intel Pentium III processor, there's nothing here that I purchased specifically for this build. It was just cobbled together. And that Intel Pentium III processor cost me a whopping $5.95 on eBay, and that's just because I wanted a pretty one. And that was a processor that when it debuted in the year 2000 cost $990 at retail. So if you enjoyed this video and you haven't checked out our other Smug and Play videos, what we are doing is playing through all of the mid to late 90s PC Gamer demo CDs on original hardware and giving our impressions of those. If that's something you're interested in, please check out our other videos. Thank you for watching this one. If you enjoyed it, please like, please comment, please subscribe, please do all the things to provide encouragement to make more content like this that you're interested in. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again on Smug and Play.